Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Town of Bel Air Board of Town Commissioners work session meeting for the 27th of February. Mr. Kranz, do you have a call to order? Or roll call?
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you very much. We'll just go around the room and introduce ourselves with name and title. My name is Michael Krantz. I'm the Director of Administration.
Jane Sudbrink, Recording Secretary.
Mary Chance, Town Commissioner.
Steve Chismar, Town Commissioner.
Jim Rutledge, Town Commissioner.
Eddie Hopkins, Town Administrator.
Elizabeth Thompson, Town Council.
Laura Bianca Pruitt, Planner 2.
Pam Walkenfuss, Deputy Director of Finance.
Angela Robertson, Director of Economic Development.
Steve Klein, Director of Public Works.
Chuck Moore, Chief of Police.
And Paula Edding, Chair.
Okay. And before we get started, I'd like to do Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Second item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or changes?
Yes, Mr. Chair. On the public agenda that was online, we had the Bel Air Volunteer Fire Committee making a presentation this afternoon. As part of the presentation, on your agenda, it only shows two. We had removed them earlier today. They had to cancel unexpectedly, and will come before us at another time.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the current agenda?
So moved.
Oops. Go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kranz, call the vote.
For a vote to approve tonight's agenda, Commissioner Rutledge,
Aye.
Commissioner Chismar,
Aye.
Commissioner Chance,
Aye.
and Chair Edding.
Aye.
The agenda is approved.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is a request to amend the itinerant dealer and peddler map regarding 332 Baltimore Pike. Mr. Thompson.
Good evening. Paul Thompson, Architectural Design Works, 298 Canterbury Road, Bel Air, 21014. I have with me this evening David Taylor, our civil engineer. This particular property had been a beauty salon. Unfortunately, the investment buyer tore it down, so he lost a lot of his rights that would have gone with that building. So we were able to go through and successfully get an approval to do a small one-story building from the Planning Commission in the town of Bel Air. I have it here in my iPad. I'm happy to share it with you. I wasn't sure how formal tonight was going to be. Excuse me. So it was a small one-story building. We were figuring it was going to be sort of a 50-foot taco stand kind of thing that's needed in the area.
Okay.
So that was approved by the Planning Commission. And since then, we've struggled with State Highways approval to get a two-way access on and off the site. They've required some additional improvements that would diminish potentially the size of the building. And David, maybe you can speak to the zoning requirement. If there's a percentage requirement for the width of the building along the street frontage, and we'd have to reduce this proposed and approved building to actually obtain that. The adjacent property owner won't give us an access easement because it's in a pending sale, and the bank won't allow it. So we're caught between a rock and a hard place with this to try to help our client pay their taxes.
So this, David Taylor, this is a very unusual property in that it's right along a stream with a floodplain. It's very narrow. Half the property is the stream and a strip of woods. And so you've got this very narrow area that's was a parking lot and was I guess a beauty salon. It's zoned B3A, which requires, and here are some plans, the code requires a minimum of a 70% building frontage, which we can't meet anyway because half of the lot and the frontage is stream and a strip of woods.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Okay, you're on the agenda for, I'm sorry, request to amend itinerant dealer and peddler map regarding 332
So-
Baltimore Pike.
This is just background.
Okay, because the commission does not have jurisdiction over any of this.
Yeah.
You got approvals at the planning commission. I just wanted to make it clear what we're talking about, because I think we're all up here confused.
So we're explaining why we can't do what we were approved to do, so we're asking in an effort to help the property owner pay for the taxes, that perhaps we get the ability to put a food truck on the site while we work through some of these issues with state highways and the adjacent property owner, and/or get a variance for the frontage.
Okay, so the variance is not the priority here, okay? That is the commissioners.
understand that.
So if you want to ask them about expanding the food truck on the property,
That's what we're asking.
that's fine, but that's a limited issue that's before the commission. I just want to make clear what they can do and what they can't
We
do.
understand completely.
Okay, go
We
ahead.
do.
So the point of, I guess, the information I was conveying is just some background information of why we're asking for a revision
Correct.
to the peddler's map. Is
That's
that-
right.
Yes.
We could even potentially entertain limiting the kind of food that's sold for concern, say, of La Tolteca up the street and being competition to someone that sells tacos and Mexican cuisine. You know, we have some interested parties that want to do pit beef at that location, like a Old Line Grill, but we don't have anyone signed up yet because we can't do it by the current code.
So are you saying the only thing that's holding you back is that location is not approved?
That's correct. It's not on your map.
It's not on the map?
It's not.
And entry and exit, access via Route 1 is not an issue with State Highway?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I mean, the intent would be to park the truck there semi-permanently, if you will, and have a picnic area so people could eat food from the truck.
Okay. Right, I'm not sure how to go forward with this. I mean, it seems like a lot of planning commission input here with this in addition, because they deal with access, they deal with use. And,
If I could,
go ahead.
okay, gentlemen, either one of you, so just to clarify things. So tonight, we're just starting to get our sea legs on this.
Understood.
You know, unfortunately, Commissioner Taylor is very interested in, hearing the perspective on this. Is caught in a terrible traffic jam on I-95 right now, which is like down to like one lane. But I do think, just from the perspective of, so, as council's pointed out, and I'm not saying, tonight's just a work session, so we're just taking information. We're not like gonna make a motion or vote on anything tonight. But the more information we get, the better it is. I'm all in favor of learning more about what people's concerns are. And then we can, start to get the ball rolling on this request to see where it might head. Clearly, you can see there could be at some point, I'm not speaking for the commission, but for us to have input from the planning commission on whether the map change, we can refer things for consultation to the planning commission. I'm not saying we're doing that tonight, but it's come up so that it might be exactly where something like that heads, because we're not experts on traffic flow. But certainly, I know the lot, I'm familiar with it. The property that's under contract, is that to your south?
To the northwest, if you will, it's the car wash.
Oh, the car wash, okay, right. And then the Grove place, was that tied up with the old Grove Plumbing? Was that what it was called there?
So my understanding is that's being redeveloped as a restaurant site?
Okay, that's all part of the Pete Cycle deal with Raising Cane?
It
Okay.
is.
Just getting my orientation
Yeah, of course, I
there,
understand.
thank you. So you've got no option to go anywhere that direction. Your property takes in the ditch, because I rode by the property and took a quick look a couple of times, and you're not able, so it's, I guess from my concern that I'd like you to just comment on tonight, if you could, would be just, what do you do about the traffic? People pulling in, will they be able to turn around, backing out? What's the thought on that, you know?
So we're picturing the majority of our clients would actually be walk-up.
Walk-up from where?
So from the community, there's a very large community in Howard Park there that we believe
Right.
would support this food truck. And again, we're just trying to find a way for our client to be able to pay for his taxes. I mean, right now, he's being held hostage by state highways and the adjacent property owner to get an easement.
Okay. Yeah, I can clearly appreciate, you know, the intellectual effort and the effort on behalf of your client there. But, okay, well, that was really my kind of thing, was like, well, will people be encouraged to pull in or off the road? That was one area that I wanted to hear what you had to say about.
So the way the beauty salon used to work is people would come in, they'd park in the back, they'd back out, and then they'd leave through Route 1. Some folks might go onto the car wash property, get a car wash perhaps, and/or just leave through the car wash. There isn't a road or a blockage that would keep anyone from doing that, and we haven't been told by the adjacent property owner that they would do such a thing. So right now, there's free circulation that occurs until we can get this new buyer to step to the plate and talk with them about an easement that would be formal.
Commissioner Rutledge, may I suggest to the board, I think this is more properly before the Department of Planning and Community Development. I think Mr. Thompson and, I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor. Need to get with their client, and you need to submit a request to the Department of Planning and Community Development. And if you want to see if the commissioners can expand the itinerant map to include your client's property, there's a lot of moving pieces here and that are not properly before the board. You're talking about variance, you're talking about an SHA issue, you're talking about having basically outdoor dining that needs to be complied with the code. So that would be my recommendation, is that this is not really properly before the board.
So to be clear, we did start with the Planning Commission, and I believe...
No, the Planning Department.
Planning Department.
You have
We started with
approval.
the Planning Department.
Correct.
We started with them, that's how we ended up at the Planning Commission.
Correct. You have approval. So you're telling me that SHA is giving you a hard time. That's not something that the Board of Town Commissioners can control. If you're talking about changing the use
Understood?
temporarily to put a food truck on the property and to have outdoor dining, that is something that needs the Department of Planning and Community Development to review. If itinerant merchant map needs to be extended to include your client's property, that is the purview. But first, that requested use, whether temporary or permanent, needs to get through Kevin Small's office first to see what requirements of the code can be met. I'm not sure your problem's going to be solved. If SHA is not giving you access, there's...
I understand all you're saying.
Does that make sense?
I started with Kevin, and we came here before you tonight.
Okay.
Because we were asked to do so.
Okay.
So I'm happy to leave, and, you know, we can retreat and...
Well,
But did you, well, my question, because I was going to say the similar thing, was you went before the Planning Commission with a permanent building,
Correct.
but not
A temporary.
food truck, not a
We
temporary.
went to Kevin first on the food truck, and
On-
we were
you
told
did,
to
okay.
seek approval of the change of map first, and then he would be required to actually certify or
Okay.
require us to get permitting and so forth to make sure it's
Yeah.
safe.
I
Okay,
just
why don't
need
you-
to get in touch with
why
Kevin.
don't you do this? Contact me at Stark and Keenan, send me an email, send Laura here an email, and Mr. Small is on vacation, and we will circle back when he gets back from vacation after the 6th. How's that work?
Sure?
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Okay,
time.
Thanks. Okay. Next item on our list, the Maryland-Estonia Exchange Council, sister city of Narva, Estonia.
Mr. Vice Chair, if I may. So while Barbara's making her way to the podium, this was one of the topics in our commissioner orientation that I felt could be better served by having a presentation by Ms. Tower rather than me do it. So I've invited her here this evening to give you a synopsis of our relationship with MEEC and our sister city, Narva. Barbara, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. I welcome this opportunity, and I will say right from the beginning, we're celebrating 10 years of this partnership. And to give you some background, I think to know the country and know the people is to understand the partnership. So I'm going to do some, I gave you a copy of what I'm going through. It's in black and white. There aren't any bullets on it. It's just a bunch of pictures. So you've got it in front of you. The last 3 or 4 slides will be where I'll spend some time in terms of where do we go from here. Okay, so we've had this partnership, and the first thing I'm going to say is a lot of people confuse Baltics with the Balkans. The Baltics are the 3 nations or countries of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. And I don't know if this is going to work. It didn't work before? No. So you have it right there. So in the pink, Latvia, and then Lithuania is down at the bottom. So that's your orientation. The Gulf of Finland is there. And these 3 countries, importantly, are part of NATO and part of the UN. And that's something to keep in mind as I start talking about Russia. It's also good to know that Estonians really occupied their country for over 10,000 years, and probably most of those countries. And they were overrun by various groups, Finns, Danes, Swedes, you name it. They've had their impact. And then finally, in 1918, they said, we're going to be an independent country, and a democratic one at that. So we had the 100-year celebration. This year makes 106 years. And the background to all that is, they declared their independence, and they had it until World War II in 1940. And there was a pact between Stalin. I'm not going to go into a lot of history, but because you're going to get the cane. Stalin and Hitler to say, Estonia wants to be part of Russia. Estonia did not want to be part of Russia. But this pact was little known. And then after that, we had the Singing Revolution. This is the Baltic chain of freedom between those 3 countries that I showed you. When you see this picture of people holding hands across the nations through their capitals, this happened. They joined hands, they sang, and a shot was never fired, and they declared their independence once again. Understanding that when the Russians took over, they said, you will not sing, you will not do your dances, you will not have anything to do with what your country's all about, the flag, you name it. And I will tell you, one of my very strong impressions about the country, and I've been there many times now, I have never seen a more patriotic group of people. It is heartwarming. This chain was 2 million people and 600 kilometers long. So that's, can you imagine trying to get that going in our states? That'd be something. So it restored their dancing, it restored their singing, and this is the amphitheater where they, every 5 years, celebrate the song and dance from that singing revolution. And there are they had 95,000 people there last year, and there were over 40,000 people in the choirs. It is impressive. And if you ever have a chance to see the film, The Singing Revolution, if you want to see it, I have a copy of it. I'd be glad to lend it to you. It's impressive. So, how did we become joined at the hips with Estonia? It was through Maryland. So they had the Partnership for Peace program through NATO. And this was really military to military. And then after that, it went civilian to civilian. And that's where Maryland-Estonia Exchange Council came into play. So when that freedom was restored, I was on one of the first flights over there to see what was going on and try to make those connections civilian to civilian. And MEEC, as we refer to it, is still very strong, and I'm involved in that organization. So we look at, I highlighted, international cooperation, the business linkages, cultural exchanges, health exchanges, everything imaginable. It's a friendship piece. And in Maryland, we have 7 very strong partnerships between the cities in Estonia and the cities in Maryland, going strong. So that's the umbrella for how we get down to our partnership. The ambassador of Estonia said, we need a partner city for Narva. And Milt Davis said, you'll laugh, Eddie, Barbara, we need a partner city for Narva. And we think Bel Air would work very well. So we had meetings, we had presentations, we had a citizen committee, and Chris Schillier was the town administrator at the time, and he was very instrumental, as were the town commissioners. And how did we sign it? Through Skype. Do you know who invented Skype? The Estonians. They are so advanced technologically, it make your head spin. They vote on their phones, they do their taxes on their phones, and they laugh when they come here and see us standing in lines. So here you have Slava, and he was Edward East at the time was the mayor. He was a one and done, unfortunately, as I call him, one and done. So then the signing of the agreement was under Mayor Rear, and then Toivo Tagamets was actually born in Narva, and Toivo has been very active in the partnership as well. So the agreement was signed in April of 2014. I meant to pull it off the wall. You've got it right inside.
We do.
One side is in Estonian, one side is in English. And again, it talks about all those friendship things. Let's exchange cultures. Let's exchange workforce development. Let's look at, healthcare. And we've done a lot of that. And here is just a few slides, and there's a handsome devil on the far right there. He was a commissioner at the time. You got a lot of history going on here. And picture of the friendship agreement. And then back to Estonia, what really kind of took the wind out of our sails was COVID. So last year, Toivo and I started in Tallinn, which is the capital. We went to Rakvere, Narva, Tartu, Võru, Viljandi, Pärnu, and then back up. Why? To restore those partner city, the activities, and say, hey, we're still here in Maryland, and we want to, get things going again. And so we did visit each of the mayors in each of those towns, and especially Narva, which I'll get to. So here we are, Narva. And looking from space, you'll see the dark area. That's the Narva River. One side on the left there is Narva, the city of Narva, and on the right is Russia. That river is very important. And here's it's really quite lovely. So you have the castle, the Herman Castle on the left, that's Narva. On the right, you have Ivanogorod, which is Russia. And you see the bridge with the trucks going across? That's the link between the two. And I understand now that only pedestrian traffic is allowed over. Interesting developments. And then they built, finally, about halfway through my visits, they built this promenade that goes right through. Lovely, goes through the bastions, a lot of history in Narva. And when you look at population, quite honestly, I thought it was a hard sell to Narva because we're a town of, 15, 16?
10,000.
10,000, and they were at like 62, and right now they're at like 57,000. So it was kind of a hard sell in the beginning. And then, this is the honesty part. The nationalities, there are only 4% Estonians in Narva by nationality, 82% Russians. However, 47% are Estonian citizens and 36% are Russian citizens. Why do the Russians want to maintain their citizenship? Pensions. They like living in Narva, they like living in Estonia, but they don't want to lose their pension. So there's a lot of, the economics that goes into it. So over 10 years, I have visited with each of these mayors, except the last one, he was just installed. And Tarmo Tamiste was mayor for like 11 years before we came into the picture. So Edward East, we signed the agreement, we go over, we do the glad handing, we exchange lots of things, and took part in their Narva days. And then Tarmo came back into power. And that's an important piece of information. Why? Because that was our heyday for all the activities that we did in terms of Bel Air and Narva. Then Tarmo was voted out. Then Alexei came in, he was a Russian. And then Katri Reich, one of the most formidable women I have ever encountered. And she was Estonian, very tall, and very, you know, like, I'm here to say it like it is. It was hard, but we kind of got below the surface a little bit. And she agreed that we would, in August, this past August, have a Zoom meeting and talk about where we're going, you know, this next year. So we were ready to reconvene the committee. We were ready to meet with the committee on Monday. On the Friday, we found out that she had a vote of no confidence. There's a lot of politics go on. So now, as of October, Jan Toets is now the mayor. I don't know what he's like. I don't know if he'll be a one and done. I kind of think maybe he will, but that's my personal opinion. But we'll see. So here's Tarmo, and you can see he was into it. He's got our Bel Air shirt on. We had the proclamation of Narva Days. He was very supportive. And all these things, these are highlights that we did. Tarmo, as mayor, and the deputy mayor with Slava, he came over to Bel Air. They visited everywhere. We had HIV workshops that we did in the high schools. I'm just going to flip through some of these. So we had a reception for them over at Lyria-Dendron. We visited Hartford Community College, instrumental. Why? Because Hartford Community College was very linked into what we did with the nursing students, which I'll talk about in a minute. And you'll see Jesse Bain on the far left at the top. He was very instrumental in helping support these initiatives, as well as all of the commissioners, and especially Susan Burdett when she was in. We met, or they met with members of the partnership committee, and we had the welcome reception, and I think that they probably needed an extra suitcase to carry all the paper and the proclamations that they received. I mean, you can see just by the people in the pictures. And Captain Jim, now this is where connections are made. Captain Jim was fascinated by this partnership, and he said, why don't we bring some artwork over? And we did. We brought the artwork to the Lyria-Dendron. It was for sale. We had events. We had singers, dancers. We gave lectures. We showed the films. Everything was really moving and shaking. This, I think, is the feather in our cap. We took 6 nursing students, senior nursing students, finishing up their curriculum, over to Narva. This was part of their last practicum. They helped design the curriculum, and they taught HIV/AIDS to high schoolers. We went to every high school in Narva, grades 9 through 12, and taught prevention. They didn't want to hear it from, you know, excuse my language, an old fart like me. So there was Tina Zimmerman, Julie Sajak, some of them are in the pictures. And so there were 3 health educators. We went along with them. And some schools, mostly Russian, would go, our children do not engage in sex. I was like, okay. So we had lots of fun with that. But what an experience they had. They visited the hospital. And it's important on that top left slide, those kids, those are the students in the high school, they were role-playing. They were interacting, because normally what they do, what do you think they do? Sit there with their hands folded, you know, sage on the stage, pour it in. They really got into it, and it was, when we looked at the evaluations, it was amazing. And the word spread, even down to our State Department in Maryland and to the ambassadors in Estonia. And then, so they got to visit the hospital. The mayor had a dinner for them. And on the bottom left, the woman in the middle with the, looks like white hair, blonde hair, she started the Linda Clinics, which are where you could go and be tested for HIV without being identified. And she went through a lot of criticism for that. So they got to meet her. I mean, she was just fantastic. So to think that we did that was, we were ready to go back. It was a great experience for these students, a great experience for the students there. And who doesn't like a parade? Anything strike you as unusual in this one? We carry the American flag in a predominantly Russian ethnic city. And I don't speak Russian, and I only know a few words of Estonian, but I can tell you, I was well aware that there was a lot of chatter about what are they doing carrying the American flag. Well, we continued to carry it year after year, and of course, Michael and the rest of them got me the flag for Bel Air, and we carried that too. And we went many, many years during Narva days. And this is a celebration, not only, it's like of their independence, there's a lot of activities for the youth and the adults. It is a very festive time, not only for Narva, but all of the cities. And we ended up at Narva Castle, a lot of people on the outside, and unbeknownst to both of us, Toivo and myself, they said, you'll now go on stage and give greetings. Okay, I can tap dance, and we gave greetings on behalf of the town of Bel Air. It was great. The library connection is also one of the key connections that we made. The library in Narva and Mariska, we still stay in touch with her. And then I will point out they had an American Corner with a 3D lab printer. This was 10 years ago when we were there. I mean, it was amazing. It'd be nice to see one. I don't know, I don't think our library has one, do they? I don't know. Have to ask Annie. They do. Well, good. I'm great. But what we did, we had a series of things, and the thing I highlighted was we exchanged art. That the children came into the library here in Bel Air, the children went into the library in Narva, and they exchanged the art between the directors, and then we put it on exhibit. It was just one of those easy things. And this is one thing I gave an example of as we went around Estonia this past summer. So that's a key connection, an easy connection. So Narva is really a city of concrete. You see the old Soviet-style buildings. It's a city with lots of tree-lined walkways and parks. And it's certainly bound by its borders. These are a couple of interesting slides because the little buoy right there in the middle marks the middle of the river. And that fisherman there is on the Russian side. If he were to cross over, that boat right there in the upper right would probably be right on him because that's a Russian boat. Because it's only 300 meters wide. You could swim that, couldn't you? Sure. I doubt if you'd get across with that. Yeah. And then, of course, you've got the markers for the land in Estonia. So it's steeped in a lot of history and tradition, and we were ready to take a lot of next steps. We were going to do some exchange with students. We talked about Fulbright scholars. We talked about cultural appreciation events, more singers, more dancers, which we bring in from Washington a lot of times. And we were ready to go back and do more HIV/AIDS workshops, not to the high school, but to the expanded municipalities, because we would have been too quick to hit the high schools. And I mentioned that to Katri Reich when I was there, that we were ready to go, we could do this again. And she was like, oh, we're fine now. Well, I'm glad if you are fine. So some observations and some recommendations. This is a challenge. Dealing with so many different mayors in 10 years' time is a challenge. I don't know what the current mayor will be like to work with, but I will see him when I go to Tartu, which I want to talk about in a minute, and we'll see what he has to say. Unfortunately, it's not just a shelf document. It has to be person to person, and the better relationship you have, the more you're going to get done. So some expanded opportunities, I think, for the town. And by expanded, I mean go beyond the town limits and look at maybe Hartford County. So I'm going to talk about a business linkages reception, a mental health conference, which will be held in Parnu, a MEEC delegation going to Tartu. They received the European Culture Capital Award. and maybe exploring an additional partnership with the city of Rock Villa. So the business linkages, and you each have the blue folder, which has an example of what we did. We've held 3 of them now. It's an awareness, it's building an awareness for Estonian businesses who want to do business in the United States, specifically Maryland, and vice versa. And this has been very successful. We've had 2 in Maryland, and then we held a 3rd one over in Tallinn. And so you showcase your existing business relationships, and we bring the state of Maryland in because there's a program there that can help businesses. And the suggestion is for you to consider, council, I'm only considering, that perhaps consider hosting at the Bel Air Armory, perhaps in the fall, and bring people in. The ambassador who's in Washington, the Estonian ambassador, told me they have plenty of wine, they'll supply the wine. Maybe we can get the businesses to supply the hors d'oeuvres. I thought, well, that was a good one because we had to buy it last time. So, then the mental health conference, this is nothing more than saying, yeah, this is great. I had an opportunity to talk to Dr. Wise at Upper Chesapeake, and with the Klein Crisis Center, maybe we could have some speakers from, our area attend that. And again, this is a MEEC-sponsored initiative with the suggestion coming from the Estonians. They want to have it. They want to hold it in Pärnu, lovely, lovely town. And we've already had 1 Zoom meeting. So if you can think of anybody that might be good to, take part in this opportunity, that would be terrific. This will be the fall of 2025. Then Tartu, I already mentioned, got the award. And we are taking a small delegation. Originally, we came up with 3. Toivo is not going to go now. To meet with the mayor of Tartu, participate in the events. And this is the week of June 10th through the 16th. At that time, I would also travel to Narva, hopefully accompanied by perhaps one of you commissioners or perhaps the town administrator, and also perhaps visit Rock Villa to explore a partnership and meet with Mayor Verek. The distance between Tallinn and Rock Villa is only like an hour, and to Narva it's like 3 hours, and you can get there by train. So something to think about, or it's happening. And then Rock Villa, the reason this came up, we visited them, they're ready. Look at this picture and think about Bel Air. This is a green city, their population is like 15,000. They are a clean energy, their whole town hall was solar energy. It's so impressive. They focus on the music and the arts. Arturo Part, if you've heard of him, he's well-known, world-renowned composer and an honorary citizen of Rock Villa. When we talked to the mayor, she has, I think, 3 or 4 partner cities, as opposed to Narva, who has like 17 in addition to us, that they're trying to, rekindle the relationship. And those are with some of the Baltic countries. Something to consider. I'm concerned about Narva. You can hear it a little bit. I'm not saying get rid of it. I'm just concerned. Action steps. If you would consider a date for the business linkages reception and support that. If you would consider perhaps a trip to Narva, you'll be going I would be going, and Eric Puskar would be going. Eric speaks Estonian. You don't have to speak Estonian because sometimes they speak English better than we do. Maybe some support for the mental health conference, if you can come up with a community representative as a suggestion. Think about Rock Villa. And I included in the materials I gave you an interview with their mayor in answering some of the questions, and I thought that would be of interest to you. And at the very least, and I did talk to Eddie Hopkins about this, that we should send, now, you notice the all-inclusive we. Mayor Edding, who's online, I hope you can hear me, perhaps a letter from you and the town administrator congratulating the new mayor and hoping that we continue our relationship in our partnership, especially as we look to celebrating 10 years of being a partner, and then reconvene the partnership committee when we have something to reconvene it for. So we've made a difference, I think, for 10 years, and it's been noted, and I would hate to see this, as I say in nursing, circle of dream. So I thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Okay?
Not a question, but what a great presentation. Had no idea all that hard work has gone on all these years. So congratulations and thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a lot to be proud of, and there is a lot more that I did not put on the slides. I could have talked for an hour.
I'm sure you
Easily,
could.
Easily. So, thank you, and I would appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you coming tonight, and I think these kind of relationships have significant value within the community. You know, several of us are new. We've only been commissioners for, 4 months or whatever, so this is all new to us. And I really like to, in my opinion, I would like to continue that and expand upon it. We'll have to take a look at your suggestions. I'm glad you came up with suggestions on how to continue this relationship. So we'll have to consider that, and we'll get back to you. I think some of those are worthwhile.
We certainly, like Eric and Bob Agee and myself, that would be appropriate for us to come back and talk more about the business linkages if we decide to host a reception for that. And there are other
Right.
things we could talk more at length. And I will say this too, that I was asked several times on this last trip by different mayors, well, doesn't your town support you financially? I said, no, I have been here twice been to Estonia twice through the Guard, and then all the rest of the times, at least half a dozen, have been on my dime. And the events that we have done have not been budgeted. There has never been a budget item. Could there be?
Right.
Of course there could. It would be wonderful. And especially for instance, when we involve the HIV/AIDS, involve the college, the hospital, and the town of Bel Air, and everybody pitched in. Plus, I got a grant through the embassy to help offset the
Right.
expenses of those students. So there's a way to do it. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yep.
I did just want to say, I'm listening and I can hear, and actually through the magic of YouTube, I can actually watch the slides that you were showing. It was very interesting, and I didn't realize that Estonia was so technologically advanced and had invented Skype. So that's something new to me, and it is really, certainly think that a letter is something that we can work on, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Okay. With that, next item on the agenda is the town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, but I have no report and will defer to the agenda.
Tangled up here.
Okay.
Good catch.
All the noise is down. The agenda for the Monday, March 4th Town Hall meeting. Do we have anybody have any recommended changes, additions, subtractions? We have the public hearing on ordinance 82424 and also on 122424 about the lease forms and about 82424 is about the adequate public facilities. And then we will be voting on those two in that session, correct? Or we can vote on those.
Yes, the public hearing for 82424 and resolution 122224 definitely will occur on the 4th as advertised, and then it's up to the
Okay.
board if you wish to vote that
Right.
evening following the public hearing. But it will be listed under unfinished business in case you
Right.
decide to do so. I'd also listed, forgive me for going on, but I also listed ordinance 82524 just because even though there won't be a public hearing that night, it's just a pending ordinance that's been before the board. And I would recommend that the board maybe consider just allowing public comment in anticipation of that upcoming hearing.
Okay, and for for all three ordinances then in the unfinished business, there will be public comment allowed for each one, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, two of them are the public hearing.
Yeah.
It's the same
Okay.
twice there, yeah.
All right, and new business, fence installation contract. We just talked about
That's
that.
Mr. Klein.
Mr. Klein?
Yes, thank you, sir. I'd like to bring before you two fence projects in town. Both projects were budgeted in the FY 25 or 24 budget. One fence location is at Rockfield, down behind the barn in front of the garage area. And that is a decorative ornamental fence, and it's about 130 feet long with 4 foot tall. And it's a safety measure why we're putting that in, so people don't fall over the wall. It's a pretty steep drop down into the ground. It's been gone. It had rusted years ago, and it was taken down, and it's time that we get it back up. The other fence that we would like to install, part of this contract, is a security fence down at our Public Works yard. Parking is very tight down there when all the guys are there. And in addition, when Chuck and his crew at PD have a car that they need to put into confinement to do investigations on and so forth, we really want to put it in a situation where it's confined for security purposes. So we have two fences. That's going to be a fence of about 300 feet long. It's a 6-foot fence with barbed wire on the top. So that's more of a security fence for that one. We want to piggyback on a contract with Harford County. We had budgeted $30,000 for both fences, and the contract came in at $30,240. So I'm a little bit over with the 240, but we'll be able to make that up at a future budget adjustment period. That's about it. So it's a piggyback contract, and the contract's with P&H Fencing. They won the bid with Harford County, and we're just piggybacking on them for the supplies and their workmanship. Is there any questions?
Any questions from the board? Nope. Okay, thank you, Mr. Klein.
Yeah, sure, and of course, all the information with regard to the fences and so forth will be part of the packet, so that'll be included as well as the original agenda. That will be read at Monday night's meeting.
If I could, Mr. Vice Chair, both of those projects sound like they're crucially essential for public safety or safety in general. Clearly, the fencing project with regard to securing evidence during investigation, I think, is an absolute must. So from my perspective, I really appreciate your work on this, and coming within a couple $100 of a
Yeah.
budgeted item during an inflationary period. My hat's off to you.
Yeah, we
Thank you
budgeted
very
it
much for
about
that.
this time last year, so I was pretty happy
Yeah.
that it was only $240. So,
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. The security issue is a big deal. You know, we have cars down there from these robberies, these people go in and they steal all this stuff, and then the cars come down and they sit in our lot amongst all of the other workers' cars.
Certainly.
So if we can lock them in a separate little area, in secured fenced area, it'll be good for everybody.
No, I think that's
Yeah.
great. And then the investigator can go into that area, through the police department
Yep.
and their procedures, and not have to be in an area with other vehicles that are being moved around or whatever by other, at the time. I think it's a good move all the way around, and really appreciate that effort.
Yeah, and one more thing, not to belabor the whole thing, but we've had some questionable characters come down into the yard amongst all of my employees looking for their cars after they've been impounded. So this way, they won't be able to gain access to those and not, get after my guys for not letting them have access to it.
Yeah, you don't need that.
No.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a red light camera contract.
Yes, sir, Deputy Chair. Since April of 1999, as most people are aware, we've been involved in in red light enforcement program in the town of Bel Air, and we do that in partnership with Howard County Police Department, and the organization that handles that is referred to as the Regional Automated Enforcement Center, or RAKE. And they, in turn, work with a vendor who is named American Traffic Solutions, also doing business as a company called Vera Mobility. So this year, after expiration of a 2016 contract that had 7 renewal options, Howard County rebid the service contract and again selected Vera Mobility as the provider of the camera and processing services. What we intend on doing and presenting to you at the next meeting is piggybacking on the Howard County contract to continue with Vera Mobility to provide the services to the town of Bel Air for all of our 4 red light camera sites. And if you're not familiar, they're northbound Maryland 24 at Baltimore Pike, southbound Maryland 24 at Bolton Street, westbound 22 at Main Street, and US Route 1 at Bond Street and Kenmore. What we're going to do, the new contract will be for a 1-year period beginning effective February 2024 with 6-year renewal periods. And the town procurement policy allows us for cooperative purchases or piggybacking with other public jurisdictions, and I'll have a copy of that information at the next meeting. Just for your edification, this past year, we issued 8,000 red light citations. And the program cost, will be $4,025 per camera per month, 4 cameras for 12 months, which will be $193,200. And there is a piggybacking and a regional partnership fee of $171.57, I don't know where the 57 cents comes from, per camera per month, which amounts to $8,235.36. The overall cost will be $201,435. But overall, the town collects $564,000, right around $564,000. So subtract that, whatever the costs are from that, and you'll get around $363,000. And most importantly, this program, I mean, we've tracked it back. It saves lives and reduces the number of crashes at these intersections, which that's the big thing that we strive to do. So we'll be presenting the new contract to you for approval at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners have any questions?
You know, my only comment is I wish we had more of them.
Yes, ma'am, and
On
we've
Bond
tried.
Street
Yep.
especially.
Yep.
Just Friday night, bad accident there at 22 in
Yep.
Bond.
Yep.
And it just, if it's pink, they think they can go through it.
I know. Or they try to beat the yellow light.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. You might have heard some talk before about the yellow lights being fast. They're 3.5 seconds. They're all the same. So there's no change in that.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next item, staffing update.
Yes, thank you, sir. I did print out a report. You should have a copy in front of you with the green bar at the top. This just is the committee position, so all our appointed officials. This is upcoming vacancies or positions expiring through May 31st, 2024, just to give you a little bit of heads up of potential vacancies that you'll need to think of appointing someone to. An Appearance and Beautification Committee has potentially as many as 3, but I know we have an ordinance, which is 82524, and this is pending before you, to reduce the number of required members from 9 minimum to a maximum of 12 down to a 5 minimum and a maximum of 9. So that might not be necessary, but it still could go up to a maximum of 9. There's still a vacancy on the Board of Ethics. There's a upcoming vacancy in the Cultural Arts Commission, and there is a upcoming vacancy on the Planning Commission, and there is a vacancy on the Tree Committee. As far as a staffing report, unless there's any questions about the appointed officials.
I know we talked about this at another meeting. Have we agreed on putting announcements out for looking for citizen involvement, requesting citizens to, you know,
It is currently advertised. We amended the website, the boards, committees, and commissions, so now we have a master spreadsheet where anyone can go on and look and see who is appointed to a particular board and when their expiration dates are. And we do also have a online electronic application to expedite the application process. And we still have the same old paper application if somebody would prefer to use that, if it's easier for them or they're experiencing technical
Are we-
difficulties. At the moment, I am not advertising them on social media, and I have not created like a job ad for them, because they really are volunteers. I wouldn't
Correct.
want to mix it in with like our career page portal, but I could advertise it on the website, I could advertise it on social media, I could put it out in
well,
things
Spotlight.
along those lines.
An article in
Yeah.
Spotlight.
Yes,
thing
that's a
there is
good
saying
idea.
we're
Yes.
looking
Yeah.
for, you know, some good people to serve on
Mhm.
these committees and list them and whatever, and point them where they can find more information. At least just give them a, you know, a headline there.
we can
on a
do that for
Spotlight
sure.
article to do that. I think we ought to.
Okay.
I think including a blurb on social media would also be
Okay.
profitable to the town. Because that probably attracts a different group of individuals than those who are already regularly frequenting the town website. Hopefully, our social media might cast a broader net. One can hope at least.
Okay, I'll get with Mr. Anderson, our public relations manager, and we'll put our heads together and we'll do a little social media and spotlight
Right.
advertisement to get the word out. Happy to do so.
And Mr. Krantz, this is Paula Edding. I do agree that it's a good idea to cast a wider net, so we're not clearing out the same people who sometimes want to change seats and serve on a different committee than they have been, for instance, like Peg Lucas. So certainly, the more people that are aware of all the committees that we have, the more maybe we can generate some volunteers. But I also wanted to mention the tree committee. I did attend a meeting of the tree committee recently, and I thought they had a full complement. Didn't we recently appoint Deanna Harkins to the tree committee?
Oh, if I may chime in, yes. So, and that was actually, you looked into the code, Chair Edding, and we determined that all the positions are now full.
Because we have Deanna Harkins, Wayne Merkel, Brent Becker, Mike Devaney, who's the chair, and then Marion Kent. So it has a full complement of 5 at the moment. And the next opening would be Mike Devaney's, and that would not be until December of 2024. I think somehow Deanna Harkins' appointment did not catch up with the notes, because it was fairly recent, I believe, that we did that.
Thank you for the correction. I'll definitely amend that and get it posted on the website. I could go ahead and just review staffing updates. Town staff, we are currently seeking a part-time computer network support specialist, a part-time senior planner, a full-time accounting clerk, a laborer in the Public Works Department, police officer. That job posting just closed, and we are in the process of interviewing, as well as police dispatcher. That job posting also closed. We're in the process of interviewing there as well, too. And I think we still have a part-time procurement officer position that we're interviewing for at the moment as well.
Okay. Is there anything support you need from the commissioners on that?
We're struggling along, put it that way. If
Okay.
you know a good, network administrator, that would be outstanding.
Okay.
So please, that's a difficult position to fill, because especially it's part-time, and the procurement manager, these have been retired, really senior skilled individuals that have brought a lifetime of experience to the town, and we've benefited from hiring people who have really, finished their formal career and then came to the town and offered us their experience in part-time capacities. And now they're both have about to or have fully retired completely, and they're not going to go back into the workforce. And finding a person like that is proving very difficult. So,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the calendar. Is there,
If you see any changes or corrections, please let me know. Otherwise,
I had a question for Angela. Is ECDC meeting in April?
That is not one of our scheduled months to
Okay.
meet. We will go from March until May.
Great. Thanks
Mhm.
so much.
Thank you.
all right. I know I saw several important dates coming up. I know Mayor Edding is going to the Maryland Mayors Association Winter Conference in Annapolis on the 29th and 1st. Is that correct?
That is correct. I will be attending those Thursday and Friday.
Great. That's great. And just nothing for the public, there's the Chocolate and Wine Festival tour downtown Bel Air, starting on Saturday.
That is correct. That is a Downtown Alliance event, and tickets have sold out. So if you wanted to go, you missed your chance.
That is good.
They will be offering a trolley with this year's Chocolate Brew and Wine Tour. That will be available to everyone, not just ticket holders, with 3 stops throughout downtown on that Saturday.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments? All right. Miscellaneous. Discuss approval of letter regarding Certified Local Government Education and Training Grant. It's a joint application with Harford County.
Yes, so every year, the town of Bel Air is a certified local government, and every year they're awarded a non-competitive grant through the Maryland Historical Trust to for education for the town's Historic Preservation Commission. And that often includes staff and commissioners as well. Since I've been at the town, this is the 4th year that I will be applying in some capacity for this grant, and we've been applying for that grant long before I came to the town. No money actually exchanges hands with the town of Bel Air because most of the trainings that we do are also through the state. So in past years, the MAHDC, Maryland Association of Historic District Commissions, has done some of our trainings, and they'll directly invoice the Maryland Historical Trust. But this year, we're doing a joint training with Harford County to do what's called a camp, the Commission Assistance and Mentoring Program. And that's a training that's offered by the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. In the past, when we've done joint application, we did a joint application in 2022 with the county, and we didn't need any additional documentation. But this time around, I found out that they would like a letter from the chair saying that we basically support and agree to be part of this grant, joining with Harford County, and that they're the ones that are, that we support their application for the grant. The reason why it's beneficial to apply with Harford County is because if we apply separately, each municipality can apply for up to $1,500, whereas together, we can apply for up to $3,500. So it's an additional $500 in training. And generally, this is, again, these applications happen every fiscal year. I brought this to Chair Edding's attention last week, and she suggested to bring it before you all. And there was a little bit of urgency because our application is due on the 29th of February.
So besides the letter, there's other information that's needed as
No,
part of the
that's-
application?
No, that's the only thing that they need from us. I actually brought a copy of the letter tonight and I did not realize that Chair Edding was not going to be here, but I can pass it around if everyone wants to see.
So do we have any agreement on how that money will be split between the county and the town, or is it just, we're gonna do like a,
So basically how the trainings work is, that, and I can also pass around the different topics of trainings. Basically, we would do the training all together. So generally, the training, has a cost up front. So past trainings with MAHTC, for instance, say, have a group fee for up to a number of people.
as
So
opposed to a per-person fee? Yeah.
correct. And so
Okay.
that's the other benefit of doing it together, is that if the fee is $1,000 for up to 15 participants, and we join in with them, then we can all go as one group instead of having to pay twice for half the size.
No, I think that's a good way to save money and get more out of it.
This is Paula Edding. This is similar to the other document that needed to be signed by the mayor. I am just one of 5. We're a different structure than, for instance, Howard Grace, where the mayor, I think, could sign independently. So I'll be happy to sign it as long as at least 3 out of 5 of us think it's a good idea.
Right. Commissioners? Comments?
Correct.
I was gonna ask Liz, Joe, are you ready to jump on it, so I'm only gonna ask him?
Yeah, so Paula, the letter is just basically confirming that the town is in support of the county's application. It does not bind the town. So it's not like a contract or anything like that where Eddie Hopkins would need to sign it. So I think you're fine to sign it as the chair of the Board of Town Commissioners. Did you have another question, Commissioner Taylor?
No, that was it.
Okay.
I was really just making sure that we were meeting our
You're good.
legislative and executive requirements for what this actually does.
Certainly.
That answers
Right.
it perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Paula?
I didn't actually have a question. I just need the board to be on board with me signing it, and I'll be happy to sign it. I should be back in town tomorrow evening, and if it's in my box, I will sign it tomorrow evening.
Okay.
Okay, I'm in agreement with doing it that way. Again, I think we'll get more for the buck out of it. I think it's a
No,
no-brainer.
there's no opposition.
Yeah. Okay.
Great, thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is commissioners' comments. Commissioners have any comments that they'd like to bring up?
Just to say, know I arrived in the middle of the presentation, but I was listening on YouTube as I was inching up the various back arteries of Baltimore and Harford County. But, just to say that it was a wonderful presentation, and especially in a time such as this, something that I think we ought to look into seriously in terms of supporting our allies over there in Estonia. So, great presentation, and I think something that is worth renewed interest and effort.
Mr. Taylor, if I may, actually, I'm glad you said that because Ms. Tower and I speak frequently, and she and I have an after-action meeting regarding this meeting next week. I was going to follow up with a more detailed email to get everyone's input, and you actually summed up what I was going to put in an email to the commissioner, so I appreciate that. She wanted to know your feedback, and we're going to meet next Tuesday to discuss feedback, so thank you.
All right, next item is, do I have a motion to go into a closed session? This meeting will be closed under the provisions of the Maryland Open Meetings Act, general provisions of Article 3-305B7. Topics of discussion is to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice regarding fee in lieu of open space.
I'll make that motion and just finish off the rest of the reasoning. The reason for
Okay.
the closed session discussion is because public discussion of confidential information and legal strategies can compromise the attorney-client privilege and inhibit the ability of the public body to receive candid and uninhibited legal guidance. So with all that together, I'll move to go into closed session.
Second.
Okay. Vote to go into closed session. Commissioner Rutledge,
Aye.
Commissioner Chismore,
Aye?
Commissioner Taylor,
Aye.
Commissioner Chance,
Aye.
and Chair Edding.
Aye.
We are officially in closed session. It is 6:24 PM. And just a note for the viewers on YouTube, I don't want to speak for the board, but I do not believe we'll be returning to open session. Is that correct?
That is correct. We want, yes.
Okay. So the YouTube video will be ending here shortly. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Vice Chair, I can excuse Chief Moore and Steve Klein. I would like for Laura, Pam,